This is my live guitar rig. My band Sacrificer has some shows coming up, and I get asked about how I use this guitar rig live all the time. It is based around the AxeFx 3. The AxeFx 3 has a ton of horsepower for guitar tones, but I'm thinking that I want to switch this up this time around. So what I wanted to do in this video is just take you through the build, why I'm doing it, what the purpose of having this whole rack is, and hopefully answer some of the questions that you guys have along the way. All right, let's get to it. So right now, this is the way I have it set up. It's based around my AxeFx 3 here. I might ditch this, not fully, but we'll go over that in the video here in a minute. Right now, the way that this is set up is I have my power conditioner, I have my wireless unit here, I have my AxeFx 3, I have a shelf with an LP16. It plays backing tracks for my band. It's a lot more reliable than a laptop. And then down here, I have my 𝗦𝗦 power stage. That powers 2 guitar cabinets, so one for myself and then one for the backing tracks that are being processed by the AxeFx and going out into another cabinet on stage. And then I can also run guitars and bass directly to front of house through the patch bay with IRs on them, so I don't have to have my cabinets that are on stage mic'd up. This is just a really versatile rig. I put a lot of time and effort and care and thought into building this thing, so time to start disassembling it, I guess. This is actually Velcroed on there. Really well. Holy shit. Okay, this is always the tricky part for me, is like figuring out how to lay out everything. There are some things you have to take into consideration when you're doing this. So when I said earlier that I was going to replace my AxeFx, what I'm talking about is actually the guitar preamp sound. What I'm going to do instead of using my AxeFx for the guitar preamp sound is I'm actually going to use this right here. This is the 𝗦𝗔 𝗠𝗏. It is a single space rack mountable preamp that you can load 2 modules into at a time, and you can switch between them. Now what would be really cool is if I could actually run these in stereo, you know, like a mono into one side and then out and the mono into the other side and out, and use one for each guitar, but it's not exactly set up that way. So I think what I'm going to end up doing here is using these for my clean and my distorted sounds on the guitar that I'm playing. So if I go like this, that's kind of what I'm looking at here. Just get everything in here as is now, and then we'll wire it all up. So basically the AxeFx will still be processing all the bass sounds, the rhythm guitar, all of the effects and everything like that. I'm just gonna have to figure out how to set this up in a way where it works in synergy with the 𝗦𝗏 preamp. What's up, everybody? This is my live rig, the one you just saw me messing with. What I want to do here is show you how the 𝗦𝗔 modules are going to work with my AxeFx, and in doing so, it's sort of presenting another problem that maybe you guys can help me out with. I have quite a few 𝗦𝗔 modules. These are all the ones that I own, and I don't know which ones I want to use for my live tone. So if you have a preference on any of these tones, please let me know down in the comments below. I really appreciate every single one of you. Okay, so there's a couple things that I want to show in the way that the 𝗦𝗔 modules interact with the AxeFx, and then we'll just start swapping out modules and I can show you all the different tones and you can tell me which one is the best. The first module we are looking at is the ENGL Savage, and the reason that I wanted to do this first is because that's the actual preamp sound that I normally use in the AxeFx. So to compare these two really quick, this is the 𝗦𝗔 module. you a different patch. This is using the Savage preamp from the AxeFx. Really, I think it just goes to show you how good the preamp sounds are in the AxeFx, but what I noticed right away being in the room with it is the Synergy modules are like a little bit warmer. They just have like a little bit more compression too, which would make sense because, you know, it's using actual tubes instead of like emulated tubes. The AxeFx is very, very good though, and like I mentioned before, this isn't really like a tonal decision that I'm making. This is more just like ease of use decision. And let me show you what that ease of use looks like. So to be fair here, the Synergy module is a little bit louder, a little bit warmer. The AxeFx is a little bit quieter, a little bit brighter. So let's go into the AxeFx amp and adjust that to more closely match the Synergy module, and then maybe you'll see why I want to use the Synergy module. So to do that, what I would have to do here is I would have to hit layout. I would have to hit zoom so I can actually see what I'm doing here. I'm going to use these arrows and I'm going to go over to my amp, and then I'm going to hit edit. And then you can see I have the 𝗦𝗫𝗘𝗏, it's the 𝗦𝗫𝗘𝗏 selected right there. We're gonna hit page over, and now I can actually adjust just the normal amp controls, like the ones that are on the face of the Synergy module. So that's how many steps are involved just to get to this point. But for the most part, they're dialed in very similarly. So let's just try and make them match a little bit closer. And then if I wanna save these changes, I actually have to hit store, and then store again, and then enter. So that's everything that's involved in just changing your amp's tone with the AxeFx versus just quickly dialing the knobs here, you know. So let's go back and forth again. AxeFx 𝗦𝗫𝗘𝗏. Then let's go back to the Synergy module. They're really similar, man. And again, the AxeFx does such a good job of recreating that tone digitally, you know? Like the Synergy is all analog with tubes and everything, so it's not like super surprising that it sounds that good, in a way, I guess. Again, tone is not the reason I'm making this decision here. It's just something I thought I'd demonstrate here while I'm at it. You know what I mean? The other thing that I wanted to show you here is I'm cheating a little bit with the Synergy module. Let me explain here. So you would think that I would just be running the effects loop into the preamp, the Synergy preamp here, and then back into the AxeFx, and then just moving on to my signal chain, but I'm actually not. I'm still using the amp block in the AxeFx. Let me show you why. So the way that I have this routed is I go into my input here, which I'm actually using the input as opposed to the wireless, but it's the same input, into a drive pedal. This is just like a modded 808, if I remember correctly. And then that is going out into the Synergy module, coming back into the input, and then I'm actually going to an amp here. Now the amp that I'm going into is this here. It's this tube preamp. Shout out to the one and only Leon Todd for this one. Leon does such good AxeFx tutorials, and that's actually where I learned this trick from. So I gotta give credit where credit's due. Shout out to Leon Todd. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate everything that you do. This is the way that I have it set up here. And what this does is just gives me power amp emulation, essentially, since I'm just using the preamp here. Let me show you the difference. So let's go back out into the chain here. Let's just quickly bypass the preamp block. This is just the Synergy module. Okay, so that's just the Synergy module. Let's turn the tube pre on and see what happens. It just added so much richness to the low end and really just like filled out the low end in a way that, you know, the preamps don't really do on their own. So I really like using it that way, but still most of the tone is coming from these modules here. And like I demonstrated before, you know, the difference in between just the AxeFx and just the modules, there's a pretty noticeable difference. So let's swap out some of these different modules here and then you guys can tell me which ones you like best. This is the Peavey 6505 module. The 6505 is a classic amplifier, and I think the module does it a lot of justice. I love the 6505 module, man. You know, it's funny because it's a very common amplifier. You see them all over the place. I think it's a common amplifier for a reason. It fucking rips, dude. Okay, let's swap these out for a couple of these other modules. Okay, so now I have the 𝗦𝗔𝗘𝗏𝗧 and the Friedman BE Deluxe modules, or boutique modules. Let's see if, you know, these sound better or worse or the same or whatever. The 𝗦𝗔𝗘𝗏𝗧 module has this really like nice low mid that I really enjoy. You can tell with those like palm mute chugs and stuff like that, like it just fills out really nicely. It's very fat. Very cool. I like the 𝗦𝗔𝗘 a lot. You know, and again, I'm like not really diving into the minutia on these modules here. I'm just going with some pre-dialed tones that I have, one channel each. These modules each have quite a bit of options with them. They have 2 channels. Some of them have like internal switches for like gain structure and fatness and stuff like that. I'm not gonna dive into all the details here. I just wanna make it through all these modules and kind of compare, you know, the tones that I've dialed in for this sort of setup. So let's keep going. Here's the BE Deluxe. I like the BE Deluxe module a lot. I think it's really cool. It might not be perfect for like what I do with my band, which is like a death metal band. I actually prefer using it on the BE mode as opposed to the HBE mode. The HBE mode has more gain, a little bit more compression, but I like the BE mode. Here's the HBE mode. Maybe I don't like the BE mode more. I don't know. Anyways, moving on here, let's swap out these modules again. We'll do the Fryette modules next, and then I will do the 2PC module at the end. That is the Fryette Pitbull module. This is like based off the classic Pitbull amplifier, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. Very, very cool amplifier. This module actually has the graphic EQ section as well. And while I think that's a really awesome addition, I think it's absolutely necessary to have it in this module. Just word of warning, if you were planning on using one of these modules, like especially live, the sliders, you know, they're small. They have to be able to fit on the module. So they're very sensitive and kind of a little bit tricky to get them where you want them. I could definitely see this like being on stage and just being hard to adjust. Here's without the graphic EQ. And then you put the graphic EQ on it. And while it does have a ton of gain, the character is like kind of dry a little bit. You know what I mean? It's just like punchy and dry sounding, which is I think why people really like these amplifiers. Let's move over to the Fryette Deliverance. Now this is an amplifier that I actually own. I don't own the Fryette version, but I own a VHT Deliverance. And they really got everything that I love about that amplifier into this module. So this module is a strong contender as well. You can make the gain a little bit more like compressed, like fatter sounding, but you have two gain switches here, just like on the actual amp. So if I turn back this first one, like the second one is your overall gain, but if I turn back this first one, it'll make the gain a little bit drier. It just sounds so good, man. Like, you can get it dry, you can get it like really, you know, thick and saturated. It's just such a cool amplifier and such a cool module as well. You guys see why I'm having a hard time deciding between all these modules? Let's do the last but not the least, the 𝗬𝐶+. Okay, now when I first started talking about the Synergy stuff, everyone was like, dude, you gotta get the 𝗬𝐶P+ module. It's awesome, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, really? Okay. And the thing that probably all of you know that I didn't know at the time was that the volume on channel 1 actually affects like the drive on channel 2. And so I had this set up as like a clean and then overdrive sort of thing going on here. And so I had it way down and I'm like, which sounds good, but it's not like super high gain. And I was kind of like, what do you do here? And then I just realized, oh, I just got to turn this up. Thick as a can of beans. I have no idea what that means. But this module is just super thick, super mean. You guys were right. It's a very, very cool module. But now the question is, which one of these do I go with for my main rhythm tones? Do you guys have any opinions on that? Do you think that I complicated my life for like no significant reason and I should have just stuck with the AxeFx tones? Definitely let me know down in the comments below. As always, if you guys like this video, make sure to hit the like button, consider subscribing. If you really like what I do here on my channel, join my patrons, my members, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.